Today on Off Topic with Jason and Amanda, we discuss things in which one can understand the world through the perception of things in time as they are done. We do Kamala Harris quotes. That's it. Yeah. It's close. And welcome to Off Topic with Jason and Amanda. It is amazing being back with you after this long break. It's like fun, getting back into a routine of sorts, right?
Of sorts.
Of sorts. I say that like we are completely on the completely awful routine right now. I remember sleep, sort of. It was a thing
I mean,
10 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah, like a decade ago. I remember people always like, oh, are you going to take a vacation? And I'm all like, what's
What
that?
is that?
They're like, oh, so you take all your stuff and you move to a smaller location with less of your stuff. So you take less stuff than you need and move to a smaller place than you already live. And then hang out for a while with your kids and then come home. Basically, it sounds like prison. Like, we're going to put you somewhere. Oh, we'll add a few death traps nearby. But it's exciting to be back because we obviously are making some switches. We are now streaming on X. But more importantly, what a lot of people didn't understand when we started the show, first of all, I feel like we had to keep explaining what the show was about, which is nothing. So it's just two people who are married and,
Talk about stuff.
talk about this is the same stuff people are like, you should do a show. And we were like, well, what's the show going to be about? And we're like, oh, what you guys normally talk about. We're like, you don't really want to hear that. We've put
You
out
may regret saying that.
yes. And so we've had fun for the last 4 months, but, I guess you would say almost practicing and solely distributed somewhere. And then we decided, you know what? There were two problems there. One is we weren't allowed to say the word poop on that network. And I was like, I like that word because we have a lot of kids. So poop. Okay.
Ugh.
Secondly, beyond that being an obvious problem, right? The ability to say poop, was that we, because
Just gonna
we
say
were
it as much as you can.
having a poopy time, but we are, that baby poops a lot. But now that we've had a baby, we are now able to go back to sort of a contemporary schedule, meaning we can catch up to date and stay topical on some issues. Not that we're a topical show. We're not here to talk about the news, but we are supposed to give our
Off
perspective.
topical.
Right. We're supposed to give our perspective sort of as parents who homeschool and who have very unique backgrounds and what we do and why we're stuck in the middle of Central Texas, which we love, but still we are in the middle of the country now officially. And anyway, it's supposed to be, we can give it some contemporary spin now. Well, now we're like caught up. So when we talk about something, we actually don't have to have a conversation a week later where we're like, when that episode airs, will that still be relevant?
Yeah.
And we're like, I mean, when are people not going to be talking about the Model T? And the man walking on the moon? I mean, that's a big deal. And now we're not so far behind in our episodes in this long running show we've been doing. We're finally caught up so we can talk about things that I started to look through current headlines, like sort of pop culture stuff, because the one thing that parenthood does is wonderful is it makes you not care about pop culture, but also you have no idea what's going on anymore. People say things and you're just like, yeah. And they're like, it's a catchphrase from a TV show and I have no idea. I just think they're being weird.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you mean, where's the beef? Right. So it's time to make the donuts. I'm like, I don't get what you're talking about. So it's hard because other than like headlines, if it's not news related because of my morning show, the Morning Post also on X, I don't get to really. We have little kids, and because we homeschool and the way we've chosen to raise our children, we don't watch TV. We don't, so it's kind of, we're out of it. So I realized, I thought, hey, I should look back at some of the things that are happening, which are obviously breaking news. And then we can, like finally give our take a little bit on news that's happening. So there's a movie called Beetlejuice that has come out. Okay. So it's about a parallel world that exists with dead things, people. Dave, what are you doing?
I'm busy dropping things.
I noticed.
That's what I'm doing.
Right. So
Oh, she thought that was funny.
she did laugh. I could see her smile. So coming back with a new baby, we're like, raise ratings. No, but it's about some guy. If you say his name, it's like Project 2024. If you say it 3 times, books about gay people burst into fire. So Beetlejuice, you say it 3 times and this specter appears and wreaks havoc. It's a very original movie. So there's that going on in theaters, right? And then in celebrity world, which I know we care about.
So is that a sequel or a remake?
Don't interrupt my sequence here. Okay.
Sorry.
In celebrity world, now breaking, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have broken up.
Again.
See, this is my point of the we checked out for a decade and had kids, and I'm coming back.
To where you left
Right,
off.
like Ghostbusters is out, Beetlejuice is out. Ben Affleck is broken up with Jennifer Lopez. I'm going to assume it's that way. He has no fork wounds. Maybe it's the other way around. Anyway, that was inappropriate. But it doesn't seem like things change all that much. Culture just kind of repeats itself.
Circle.
Yeah. I mean, we have not. It's very funny because I have the running joke in our house is that I don't have any clothes. And it's not that you have a bunch of clothes, but you've kept a lot of your clothes because you have taken good care of your clothes. So you have a lot of clothes from high school and college.
I still have many of my concert t-shirts.
Right, but our kids won't wear them ironically. They'll be on new tours by then.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. They'll wear them. Right? Deftones will be a thing again. It'd be like Aerosmith, they'll come back around from the 70s and then in the 90s and all those people in the 70s wearing their, and they wear the t-shirts and they look cooler.
Yeah.
Jeans that are originals. Oh, those are original Levi's? Yes, made by tiny hands. Right? That was before trade laws. But I thought things just haven't changed that much. I was very happy to learn we haven't missed anything. I did check in. TV's not a thing, right, as we gave it up. So that worked out.
Oh, good.
It turns out we were early adopters or Celeste started a trend. I'm not sure if we killed television, but roughly when we stopped watching, it ended. Yep.
We were the one keeping the shows alive.
Yes. And apparently musicians and athletes are dating again. That's a new one. Because that's never happened before.
Nope.
Everyone's all like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are together. When I finally figured out who both of those people were, I thought, well, I remember when Madonna and Dennis Rodman were a thing. So, okay. I'm just a material guy living in a material world. Anyway, so we haven't missed anything.
It's good to know.
Yeah. Politics are going on.
As per usual.
It is pretty funny. I make fun of this in my morning show, but are you aware? Okay, so I don't know how much you follow politics. And what I mean by that is you obviously have your own viewpoints and you pay attention to key issues. So you're well informed. You come to me. Did you see this? I'm always like, yes, but no, but you bring stuff to me and you'll say, did you see that this bill or this is coming up? So you stay in tune, especially if it involves our children or anything like that. But I mean, have you been aware of just how dumb Kamala Harris sounds? Like, have you been in tune with that over the years?
Yes.
Like, it wasn't like, I mean, it was almost like normally if you have a bad president, they trot out the vice president on an issue. And even when Biden was falling down the stairs, they couldn't bring out Kamala Harris because.
I feel like she talks in a circle. and says nothing.
Right. She's all she's not even all style and no substance.
No, because
You know what
it
she looks like
doesn't
to me?
make sense.
She looks like AI when it first started to learn how to talk. Or no, it's a better example. She sounds like you know how I always talk to people when I don't know how to do something and I say to them, "Hey, talk to me like I'm a really smart fourth grader." Right? Like I get concepts and stuff, and if you use words, I'll get it, and I'll start to right. Okay. She talks like she's a really eloquent toddler. Like she has no idea of what she's saying, but she's using big words, and everyone's like, "Ooh, that's cute." Right? Have you heard some of her phrases? I've got a couple of these. What is the one? This is one of my favorite, but I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. Does that sound like something a really smart toddler would say to you after they just used the potty?
It sounds like someone that's like trying to be poetic, but doesn't know what they're trying to say.
Right. I don't understand it.
I don't know.
And she says things like, I love this one. I love Venn diagrams. I always ask, is there a Venn diagram for me? Like, I'm telling you, it's fascinating when you do, right? Those three circles. She says, what did she say? What was her big statement on that? She goes, what's the state? You had it up, Dave. It was, it's something about those three circles and the analysis about where there is an intersection. So
the intersection is always the same spot in a Venn diagram.
But what you say, in other words, it's just
Shouldn't
a
have to
really
analyze that.
roundabout, no pun intended, roundabout way of saying, I love what these things have in common. What? So, but then I love the follow-up statement. I always ask, where's the Venn diagram? I love the concept. I love the concept of her going in there and she's going, well, ma'am, Israel and Hamas are going at it. She's like, can you put that on a Venn diagram for me? You know what I mean? She's like, Israel, Hamas, and wars in the center with like a Venn or hate each other. So, oh, that's very good. I like that. I could see now.
You know what? I bet there is someone that does that. Like it's their job to take these
Things and do
simple
that.
concepts and put them in a Venn diagram
Right.
just to make her happy.
She's like, give me an analysis on where that intersection is. To just, work that out for me. Is there a Venn diagram for this? Like I could, but what's it? I love my favorite is, so I started saying, because it's true, because we're living in a banana republic right now. Right? I mean, you're aware they're trying to jail Trump and all this other stuff. And they okay, just to clarify. So you're an average mom. You're above average, but yeah. But you're an average mom at home. You're aware of how many people voted for Kamala Harris for VP, to be on the presidential nominee, right?
Nobody.
Right. Because you don't vote for a ticket. Never in history have you voted for a ticket in the primary. Right. At any point, the president can go, and go back to his party and select somebody new. That's it. That's the only other time. Any other time you want to swap out your VP, you need to get help from like the senators. They have to resign. You're not going to just be able to eject your VP. They've done it in the past, but it's really hard to do. But this is the only time they can sit here and go. And they were talking about it. Remember, they were going to ditch her because they said, well, she's dragging down the ticket. And then all of a sudden they swap her out. So it's like a banana republic type thing. But I call it because she's gotten to this thing. I don't know. She quotes her. For a lady who grew up in Canada, she sure does have a lot of sayings from her grandparents. But her mom, our grandmother or somebody, is like a college professor in Canada. Oh my God, she's so dumb. She talked about the economy. Did you read about that? She was complaining. She was talking about home ownership, talking about how her mom had to work one job or two jobs and couldn't afford to buy a home until she was in high school. or till she was a teenager. And I just keep thinking, she never says high school on purpose because she doesn't want anyone to know. Because if you say high school, then you're going to be like, yeah, but you were in Canada. So
Right.
she says this nebulous thing of teenager. But you could probably look at the year and you'll sit here and go, oh, so how is it the American economy's fault that her mom couldn't buy a house in Canada on a university professor's salary? I'm just curious how that's our fault. I want to be unburdened by what has been on this one. Right? But she has these things where she like washes collard greens in the bathtub.
I've seen
With Tabasco
videos of
sauce.
people doing that, and why?
Well, I mean, if you had a lot and you actually picked the greens from the root and went in there, what you would want to do is wash them out and then get as much of them and snap them off at the root.
Right. But
Why do
like,
I
how
know
much
that?
are you eating?
Well, that's the thing about collard greens. It depends on what you're doing with them. Why do I know all this? Gee, because I grew up in Alabama for a small portion of my life when I was young, and we grew collard greens and then ate them. And there are 3 ways to eat collard greens. There's boiled, then there's boiled, okay? And then there's fried in pig fat, which is usually bacon grease or lard. So boiled, or fried.
What about, so it's boiled, but what about boiled?
That was
Can
the
you,
second one.
can you double boil it?
That was the second one. Yeah, it's called overboiling.
Ah,
Right. And you know what it tastes like? Seaweed.
boiled.
Yeah, it tastes like seaweed. I hate collard greens.
I love collard greens.
Yeah, but that's because you didn't have to eat them to live. I always say that anybody who has to eat anything to live hates it for the rest of their life. Okay? Like if I lived above a pizza place for college and all I had to eat was that pizza, I'm telling you, by the time you're not going to want pizza anymore. You're just not. You're going to make an exception, Dave, I'm sure.
No, I was going to agree with you. In fact, when I was younger, kids were very little, like 1 and 4. We ate boxed mac and cheese because that's all we could afford back then.
Yeah.
And we ate it so much. I will not touch mac and cheese to this day. It doesn't matter how good it is. Doesn't matter who makes it. Won't touch it.
I can't eat a pasta salad because there was a time when I was poor in my life when the one thing I could afford a lot of was pastaroni. So I bought a lot of pastaroni and ate it. Because it was like you could buy 3 for $1 a box because you catch them on sale and they were past their date and I ate that. I was on a sabbatical in Tahoe. I'm not kidding. I eat it so much that right now, if you even say the word, I got sick just thinking about it, saying it. I haven't said the word in so long. It's like Voldemort of food. Okay. I'm afraid if I say it, it's the Beetlejuice of food. If I say it 3 times, it's going to get up and wreck the rest of my cabinet. So I just won't. I won't. There's just certain things like, even the kids, Vienna sausage, the kids love those things. I won't. Spam. No, because there was a point in my life when Spam was what you had for dinner. And it's not the same thing anymore. Just saying. Anyway, but she lives in a coconut tree. So her
should
grandmother.
we stop eating steak?
Should we? No. Kids.
Is that going to make you hate steak?
No. That's me growing up. I'm like, I told you, give me a wiffle ball bat. Every cow is dead. Okay. But she says these things like, I don't know. So what I hate about presidential candidates and anybody who's running for office is how they try to do this thing where they fit in with you.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm just like you. I don't know. When I ran for office, I did try to hide, like, here's who I am. But no, I'm nothing. I'd like to know what life is like. If you want someone just like you, good luck, because you don't make up the plurality. So what we're trying to do is all find the common thread, obviously, right? But I'd rather hear about what someone's actually going to accomplish and then show me if they've accomplished something in the past. I care more about that. Since Kamala Harris doesn't exactly have the greatest legislative record. Don't you love how she's all like, I'm going to no taxes on tipping? When she was...
Did she really say that?
You don't know about this?
No.
See, this is great. So Trump comes out and says, hey, no taxes on tipping. That's one of my platforms.
Right.
Right. And then she comes out and they make fun of him in the media. That's blah, blah, blah. Then she comes out a week later and says, yeah, no taxes on tipping. Right. Well, no, but it gets worse. Do you know where the IRS started cracking down on tipping because they started going after the restaurants and saying, we're going to look at your total sales and say, like, you should be declaring this much in income from your people.
Right.
So they were going to go out there and go after them through payroll taxes. So what did they, where did that sudden switch come from? The Inflation Reduction Act, right? Okay, so the Inflation Reduction Act that the Biden-Harris regime pushed through, it just so happens that it wasn't very popular. As a matter of fact, it was a 50-50 tie in the Senate. So who cast the deciding vote? The vice president. So in other words, Kamala Harris is the one that made them crack down on taxes on tips. And she goes and steals this thing and says it, and people are just like, No one says anything else. It's like, that's good. It's a good plan. Look at her caring about people. So anyway, she would have banana republic.
Stupid.
So I call it a coconut republic
Why?
because she's always using that coconut tree thing. So if we're going to be a banana republic, we might as well attribute it to the person who's going to turn it into that and call it a coconut republic. But she says, here's another one. You exist in the context of all in which you live and what you came before you.
Wait, repeat that?
You exist in the... I want to say it like her.
No.
Which
Just read
accent?
it
Her Detroit accent or her Atlanta accent?
No.
You exist in the context of all which you live, what you came before you. What? Drunk toddler or vice president? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what you came before you. That sounds more like a college freshman who's tried too many psychedelics. Bro, you exist in the context of all in which you live and what you came before you, man. Let me put it in a Venn diagram for you. Right? It feels like sort of what that is. She's not very smart.
I don't even know what we were supposed to get out of that
I don't.
statement.
Okay. If this was a game of telephone and somebody sat in a meeting, because you know they workshop all this, how did that become a thing? Like, let's go back to the sorry. Yeah, I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. I mean, if like there was 20 people in a room and they all whispered in an ear and that's what came out, what do you think the first one was? I think it started with, excuse me, do you know where the restroom is? I have to go potty. And then she got to, I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. And he felt like, oh, down the hallway. It went walking.
Nice.
You just spit a little bit. I like that. It made you laugh so hard. Yay. Okay. I don't know how she worked the Venn diagram thing, workshop that, but you exist in the context of all in which you live and what you came before you. I don't even know what that started.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
People, listen, Kamala, people are real and they were real before you saw them. Okay. They didn't just pop into existence when you saw them. Okay. Just reminding you. And then she walked out and she was like, you exist in the context of all in which you live and what you came before you. No. I just feel like somebody was reassuring her because she strikes me as the kind of person that's, where am I? Wind her up. I just feel like Joe Bot was a real robot and that Kamala Harris was the broken side droid that they had. She's like the C-3PO walking around. I am Kamala Harris, protocol droid for the United States government. I speak over 2 languages and I've never been to Europe. You there. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, that's Biden. Don't worry about him. Just bumps into walls. What?
My goodness.
She is the human protocol droid. She's really bad at her job. Somebody put her arms and legs on backwards. She's just hanging on the back of a Wookiee right now, screaming for dear life.
Oh my goodness.
You think you're in trouble? Oh man. Sorry, I wouldn't trust her to find the sea dungeon level. Turn off that compactor. Oh no, they're all dead. Okay. We should honor the women who made history throughout history. I mean, is it currently right now? I go find the ATM machine. Honor the women who made history throughout history. Is that saying
Does
that
that
we
mean
should
we
continue
have to
do
go back in history?
it in time? Did she made a time machine
and
and is just now telling us?
maybe.
That would explain so much about how she moved from dating Montel Williams to being the future president, possibly.
Wow.
I don't have any ex-girlfriends that have gone on to do anything this important. I can say that about Montel. Good for you, bud. She's vice president. I don't know how that happened. Okay. Culture, it is a reflection of our moment in our time. And in present culture is the way we express how we're feeling about the moment. Do you know what this sounds like? I'm starting to realize most of what she says sounds like a valedictorian of a high school, a small high school. You know what I mean? They sat down, they really wanted this, and they found out about a week before, and they wrote, culture is a reflection of our moment and our time, right? And our present culture is the way we express how we're feeling about the moment. And everybody cheers. And they're like, what did she just say? I don't know, but it sounded like an applause line. She raised her voice to a crescendo.
It was the way that she said it that got the applause, not necessarily what was said.
And we will honor the women who made history throughout history. I don't understand that. Are they saying in the future we should honor women who make history by continuing to honor them as we go through history?
Probably.
Yeah.
There's a much better way
I don't.
to say that.
Okay, this is her talking apparently too. And why do they call it an abortion rights? Anyway, whatever. She's at Howard University. That's awesome. Convince black women to kill their kids. That's perfect. So I think it's very important, as you've heard from so many incredible leaders, for us at every moment in time, and certainly this one, to see the moment in time in which we exist in our present and to be able to contextualize it, to understand where we exist in the history and the moment as it relates not only to the past, but to the future.
What?
You know, I was reading this line. Somebody said that when they go in the debate, that she has they know for a fact she has some ready-made, canned, whatever. So that it's going to be something along the lines of, I'm speaking. Or, what's her other big one that she's going to go with? Weird. She's going to say something's weird, right? Or, and this is probably one of my favorite, is that they're going to try and catch him saying something and then her say, would you like some dressing with that word salad? Right? That's the line. Okay. So I'm going to put some money on that. But I guarantee she says something like that.
Okay.
But this is the same woman who said, without poppy seed dressing. So I think it's very important, as you've heard from so many incredible leaders, for us at every moment in time, and certainly this one, to see the moment in time in which we exist and are present, and to be able to contextualize it and to understand where we exist in history and in that moment as it relates not only to the past, but to the future. Oh, but the future. Everything I just said makes me feel bad about the English language.
Yeah,
Imagine the person who had
I'm
to
trying
translate.
to imagine if I read that in a book.
This,
Would that
again,
make any more sense?
This is the worst term paper ever written. If you were a teacher, you would just look at that and just go like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, I would F this and then go in and quit my job. this is what you guys are sending me? I quit. What do you think she was trying to say there? The thing is, these are
Did they
written
have
out
like
statements.
AI write their speech? Is that what she does?
Words have
Because that doesn't make
vibrations.
sense.
I don't understand. I'm so confused by all of this.
Okay, you need to read out loud whatever you're looking at because your face is making me curious.
No, I'm just trying to get. It's just all this stuff they're talking about, just how she's so awkward. She is super awkward, right?
Yes.
I use the metric of
She's weird.
yeah, she is weird. I always use the argument of would you leave the person with your kids?
No.
Or your kids with that person?
No.
And I have to say, this is the first time in a row that they've done double combo where I wouldn't leave my kids with Biden and I wouldn't leave my kids with Harris. And now they've added Timothy AWOLs and I wouldn't leave my kids with him, like at all. Like it's weird. Like it's weird to think that I wouldn't trust my kids with. Yes.
My kids are well over 18 and have their own kids. And I wouldn't leave my kids with either one of them.
Yeah, but you don't leave your kids alone with me either. So I don't know what that's.
Well, I mean,
Try to be a good influence, Dave. No, but it's just, yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Bunch of weirdos. Speaking of kids, so we are going through our whole phase of, I should be doing promos in the middle of the show, shouldn't I? I've gotten better at doing it in the morning. Continue to watch our show. We'll be back tomorrow. But that's it. But leave a comment or, whatever, because we have no idea what people like. And now that we're moving over to X, we're going to get a little bit more feedback from people, hopefully. That would be nice.
Hopefully.
Hi, Linda. Yeah. So, hi, Brenda. We know who watches. Sheila. Anyway, so we were talking about before the show, we're in that phase of realizing that there are a few things that we have let sort of fall by the wayside because obviously there were some circumstances after the birth of our last child in between that time frame where we haven't done a lot of exploring in the world as much as we used to. And so our jogging stroller looks like it was left in a lagoon somewhere because, it's got mold on it. It's not inside the house. It's obviously out in the storage area. And same thing with our...
Needs to be cleaned.
Yeah, it needs to be cleaned. But our double stroller, our limousine stroller, it's just not right. I was watching this commercial, by the way.
It was given to us pre-loved and has lasted a very long time.
Right. I was watching this video this other day and it was it was some guy, you showed it to me. It was some sketch. It was some, I don't know. It was some sketch where they turned around and because we say it was a sketch because it looked like a video that someone was just filming of some guy who was spending about 10 minutes trying to get his stroller to collapse. And then another guy came over and then another guy. And then finally some woman walks by and takes 1 second to collapse it. And all the guys are amazed and all this stuff. And I just thought.
And the person filming across the parking lot.
Right. And I'm just thinking, okay, first of all, you're a weirdo if you're randomly filming people doing stuff. But secondly,
yeah, please don't film people that you don't know. It's odd.
Right. It's one thing if they're climbing a coconut tree, but it's a whole nother thing if they're just trying to close a baby stroller. Leave the poor guy alone. Go help him. But the point is, he's closing the stroller and it takes him forever. And I just thought this is such a bad characterization of men because I know for me exactly how that would go. If I can't get it to close in the first minute, I just leave it there.
It's true.
Kind of oh well.
Or you get a screwdriver and just take pieces off.
Yes, which I've done in the past.
Yes.
If this thing, I mean, I've read them. We have had dumb ones before. They're just, and I truly mean they don't work.
Yeah.
So I'll take pieces off and throw it inside the car.
Yep.
But no, if it's that complicated, I'm not going to sit here and fight with something in public for 10 minutes. I wouldn't even fight a person for 10 minutes. I would do exactly the same thing. Just leave it on the side of the road. So, yes. I'm going to be why is that baby stroller there? Yep, the guy couldn't get it figured out. But it's just this simple button. You go try it. But we're shopping for a new baby stroller because we need to get one. And we need to get a limousine one because Tempest is still young enough that we need one. And we like to go to the zoo. And it's the zoo season. They have penguins. You got to go over there. It's going to be two sad, lonely little penguins in Texas. Why are we here? We don't have an answer for you. They're like, all right, boys, let's figure this out. But anyway, no worse than Madagascar, I guess. So, but we, we started looking at strollers, and I gotta say, they're more expensive than I remember.
Mainly because,
We've never paid for one.
yeah.
Because we've always been, but there's some cool ones, and I was like, hey, what are some expensive strollers? Like, I wanted to see, like, what does expensive mean? You know what I mean? Like, what are we looking at nowadays? And
Does it double as a rocket ship?
right. But you had some that were expensive, but you kind of looked at it and you're like, well, I could see that if you were in which we're not, but if you were in that income bracket that you would go in. But you have those queued up, Dave. Yeah, like these were some cool ones that are not ridiculous, right? This is not the ridiculous ones because we're going to go to the ridiculous ones afterwards. Yeah, got it. Is this normal or ridiculous? Oh, we're going to the ridiculous first? Oh, well, let's go to ridiculous.
I mean, everyone knows what a normal stroller is, so I don't think.
Okay, so that just looks like what I was going to have you go to at the end, which is something from the night. What is so different about that and the 1920s one? Right, but inflation adjusted is probably about right. It would have been $1,000 4 years ago. Right, there's nothing. Okay, so that's just a stroller. Okay, got it. Okay, that looks like something that might also just leave with your children. Does that self-park?
On its own.
Yeah. Like I don't get is that two kids?
No.
Like that looks like bunk beds, but on wheels. So I don't understand. That just like you have less space than the other ones, but it probably collapses downward really. Okay, go on. We're fine. It's $2,100. That's ridiculous. Another one, ridiculous. Same thing, but the pod faces everyone else. Here's my child in a pod. Bugaboo. Okay. None of this is interesting. Go ahead. I want to see something cool. Okay. I guess that's cool looking, but again, I'm thinking it's functionality. We stacked too much. That one was the cool one I saw. It was a Rodler.
Yeah, that one at least has like a
Styling to
visual.
Right. These aren't the
thing.
ridiculous ones. These are the ones we can't afford, but if we had money, would buy.
It will keep going.
Oh, they get more ridiculous than this?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So, okay, that's just, again, now we're back to, it just looks like a baby stroller. As a matter of fact, the worst part of that one is it looks like we would have to get mad. It's Versace. Oh, okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense. I was going to say, it looks like I would get mad if somebody bumped into it. Go ahead.
Yes, you would.
Aston Martin.
Aston Martin. Wow.
Wow. Does it drive? No. Okay, that's just so you could say.
Do you get a car with it?
Yeah, I don't get it. Who are you showing that off to? The only reason a guy gets an Aston Martin is to pick up women. So is that just to pick up baby girls? It's like you put your baby girl in it and you're like, yep, still got a girl. You feel better about my midlife crisis. The print, okay, so the only thing about this one is it looks French. Could you imagine trail hiking with that?
Well, it's plated with gold, so no. I
Okay, so
cannot
no, so
imagine
it's
that.
useless. Okay. Also
And it
looks
has
like,
a fur lining.
right. And then that one is $7,000. Okay. But this wasn't as bad as the ones that we saw online. I'd sent you a separate article where they had ones that were like, was that the bassinets?
Those were the cribs. I
The
think.
cribs. Yeah. So that's not so bad. Go to the cribs one that I sent you. Because that was one I was looking at this is ridiculous. Like what because I'm just thinking baby strollers, I get, but the wheel hasn't been around that long. And I imagine that when the first wheel came along, they didn't waste them. If somebody wasn't like, I spent all winter making this circle, let's use it on the baby. And you can carry the baby, right? And then by the time you get the second circle made, you're just like, oh, I can make a push cart. Right? It's profitable. I was like, oh, can we put the baby in it? You're like, you can carry the baby. Gotta put onions in this cart. Sell them so you can feed that baby. Right? So strollers are probably fairly new. That would be my guess. Super rich Victorian people maybe had little wooden push carts that they'd slap the baby in there with their onions.
I still want you to make a Trojan horse.
We talked about this. We're thinking about it, but the problem is that we're not sure how to get it into the building past the guards. We're thinking if we leave it out there and call it a tribute, somebody might take it inside eventually. Okay, so did you find that other one? Okay, so this is cool because I was looking at, this is, in my stuff. So this is the first one looks like, I love
The
this.
space machine.
Okay, what did babies
thing.
used to sleep in? Do we trundle beds? Can you bring me up real quick a picture of a trundle bed? Yeah, I want to see, because this is what we've been reading the kids to, even in Hansel and Gretel. They have trundle beds. The kids are like, "What's a trundle bed?" And I'm like, "It's a box with hay in it." Right? Basically, we went out and fed the cow. And then when the cow was done eating, I was like, "Oh, you done, boy?" And then go inside. And then like, "Here, you can sleep in this." I'm like, "Oh, my own bed." Right? It's back when people lived in a one-room hovel. Do you have a trundle bed? Oh, that's fancy. I meant like 1800s trundle bed. But yeah, we get it. It's something that goes underneath of a bed. But back then it was
They
like
look exactly the same as that. Basically, they haven't changed
But without
in
a
forever.
mattress.
right,
Yeah.
without a mattress.
They
And
just
that,
had hay,
right, that looks
or,
like it
you
could
know,
fit a human.
maybe a horse.
Right. I mean, we were talking about trundle beds for little kids. So go back to the other bed. The other bed looks like something that, during the entire thing, you're going to be, sending your kid math equations.
What?
It looks like the Tesla of beds. That first one. Can we go back to that other article? Yeah. See that cotton telecast,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't know. I'm reading what it does, but it says they have lots of features, but it's safety and health. I don't get it. It's rock solid. I love this. It's same, which is very appropriate for your baby to relax when they're tired. What? I can tell when they've got AI writing articles now.
Did Harris write the ad for that?
Yeah, I know. This is the Harris campaign wrote these ads. And Telecast made the famous company, which was available at the price of $15.76. It's rock solid, which is very appropriate for your baby to relax when they're tired. They cannot be unburdened by what has been. Okay. Okay. But anyway, that one just doesn't, I don't get, it looks wood. I guess it's wood, but it looks futuristic. It looks like it's made of plastic. And then this one's just, aristocratic looking. I mean, I don't get it. It's just a fancy bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Go on down. Okay. Now this one's cool. It's a Cinderella bed. I don't know why that Mexican style has anything to do with it. Is there a Mexican Cinderella?
I don't know.
Is it La Cinderella? And that's it? It ends in La. I don't know why I didn't see that coming. Okay. And then they have, go on down. We got Versailles. Let's go ahead. I like this next one.
I like that one.
You like that one?
Yeah.
The one
I
above
like that
it?
one
No,
too.
no. The one above it looks like you're going to have a haunted Victorian baby.
It reminds me of.
Seriously, like
It
those
reminds me
dolls
of
they
like
find on the
Sleeping
Titanic.
Beauty.
What?
I'm just waiting for like Maleficent to come in and
Steal your baby?
she doesn't steal her.
Yeah,
She
that
puts it-
definitely looks like something
curse.
Lindbergh's baby was taken out of.
Oh, that's just sad.
I'm just saying, it looks like it. I don't, again, if I put that in my house and then all of a sudden plates and things started moving through my house, I would not be surprised. It just looks like the kind of house that a haunted baby would have. Okay, move on down. We got this one I like. This definitely looks like you're raising princes.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, I just like the look of it. It definitely doesn't fit anything in our house. It'd be the nicest
Not at
room in
all.
our house. We'd go in and invite people over and be like, "Why are we in the nursery?" Because it's the only place that has furniture. It's
Can't just sell
$4,000.
all of our stuff in order to buy the.
Okay, I didn't get the next one
furniture.
because it was like Camelot. It's just I didn't get it. It's just an expensive bed. Same thing for the next one. $10,000 for something that actually looks like it has safety issues. Like it looks like the drop.
Also, it's called Rollaway,
right.
which just sounds like
Yeah, like when the Titanic
I don't
starts
want
moving.
my baby to roll away. So
Yeah, our new bassinet doesn't have wheels, and it has like only on two. And you're like, well, it should be moving. I was like, yeah, only on two. You don't want the thing rolling around the house. We got other toddlers. That thing will pick up speed fast. But the next one is okay. Now that I get.
that's crazy.
So if you got like a ton of money, can you like click on that photo and make it bigger? Oh, not that. You up? No, back down. Give it that one. Yeah. Will it let you click on it and make it bigger?
No,
No.
probably not.
Without going big. I'm just trying to see if it's actually like a functional. So, I mean, I don't have any money, but if I had, so much, I'm trying to think about the equivalent, right? So we can afford like a $200 one. So we'd have to make 20 or 200 times as much money. I don't know. I'm bad at math. That's why I don't have that money. But if we turned around and had to make 100 times as much, which is way more than we have now, then I could see how you'd be like, oh, a $20,000 thing that looks like that. Make the other kids more interested, right? I don't know. Our kids seem to be fine. Okay, the whimsical coach, the one below it, that's just, I don't understand. It says right there that's the most popular crib in the world. That's the most popular crib in the world. $65,000 for a bed. That's crazy. Doesn't even look like a chariot or a carriage. But the other one I was looking at, $16.4 million. It's a cot of pure gold.
It's ugly.
It doesn't seem like that would be comfortable. It looks like a trundle bed of old. We've come full circle.
I don't like the squiggly lines.
I mean, it gives me some anxiety. 16.4. That's a big jump between the two, by the way. I mean, if we were talking about cars, it would be like, and here you can have this Mercedes or this Lamborghini. There's no in between, you know. This is just, use $16.4 million as like the gross domestic product of at least 3 nations. I guarantee it.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, don't look that up. It's okay. Don't need to be fact checked. Remember, we don't do fact checking here because we just make up stuff. Yeah. But I mean, I don't, but people used to have the biggest death traps and stuff. I still see people using those little plastic strollers that they plop a kid in.
What, umbrella strollers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tons of people have those.
Yeah, it looks like a little death trap to me. That definitely wouldn't survive a trip down the stairs. Isn't that the measure of how they test those? Well, they run a car into a wall. They don't send strollers down the stairs to make sure they can maintain. What do they do to test them for safety?
I don't know.
This is actually a valid question I now have. Is the safety testing for this only just as simple as can the baby pull something off and put it in its mouth?
I have no idea.
I want to know if they have crash test babies that they put inside these things and then send them through scenarios. So they just like, is there a Volvo of strollers? I don't want airbags in my stroller, but I want to know is if it goes down like some hill, can it up to 15 miles an hour? Would it not, lose?
I don't think that's the metric they use.
What metric do they use? Do they use any outside of the baby can't eat lead? Like, do they not paint it in lead? And that's the one thing they're like, there's no lead paint chips. You're good.
Could be.
That's it. No buttons that the kid can put in their mouth and then you're good.
There's no eject button.
Yeah. There's just a big red shiny button in there. Teach kids early. Darwinism. No, I mean, but that's it. Nothing else. I do love the idea of a cute little baby parachute though.
That's cute.
Your kid accidentally hits the button, but it's okay because you pack that chute well. You just come down about 30 feet away. You catch them in the same thing. Darn it. I mean, repack your parachute. Maybe you should just get a new stroller. Maybe you should shut your mouth. This is high tech. I'm just saying, like, I don't, yeah. I don't know.
I saw a, whatchamacallit? Diaper changing pad, mattress, whatever you want to call them. It's like a smart one and it like weighs them and does
vital statistics and stuff.
Yeah, while you're changing their diaper.
I mean, I'd be okay with that. Unless it was like a Gilbert Gottfried voice that was giving you the information. I'm not going to do it in print. Oh, the temperature.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I just got coming in. Right? I don't know.
Yeah, that was a little too much for me.
I will tell you that I truly can't wait until enough celebrities, and even though I think AI is creepy, I still can't wait until enough celebrities start to license their voices out while they're still alive to do it. Because I want my GPS to be Christopher Walken's voice. It's coming up on the left. You might want to turn. The groceries, I mean, to me, but do the same thing for babies and stuff, like if you had, it would be way more soothing or not soothing. Just had, We could really mess with our kids because of the whole Nicolas Cage thing.
Oh, goodness.
Dave, do you know this? Amanda hates Nicolas Cage so much that we have got pillows now in our house that if you move them are sequins in their pillows. And so all the kids now, they just, when they're going to go take a nap or something on the couch, especially
They're
if they're
like, don't
sleepy.
forget Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, especially when they're sleepy, they'll just be like, "Oh, can you give me Nicolas Cage?" Yes, I can, son. Yes, I can. She, she could throw them out. She won't. Our kids think that he's like the greatest thing ever.
No, they don't.
I have, in fact, seen the pillows. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have movies that Amanda has purchased starring Nicolas Cage. I did not trick her
We have
into.
movie.
Movie.
We reluctantly have movie.
We have movie. It's not even appropriate for our children.
Yeah.
I was like, Nicolas Cage is a national treasure. And he also made a movie called National Treasure. It's like, what? I don't remember anything inappropriate in that movie. It's basically Indiana Jones, but with the Constitution. And it's factually correct the entire time. There's nothing about that movie that's made up. So it's going to be amazing. It's like basically a history lesson. Let's give it to our kids. Are we bad parents? I don't know if this is important to us or not. I don't know. But it's like you said. So now that we're moving back to a daily show, the question becomes: I want to say back to a daily. We're already doing daily, but now that we're going to be sort of more Johnny on the spot on our. It's like, what's off limits, or what can we talk about? And I think one thing we're going to stick to is the idea of that we're not a news source.
Please no.
But we'd like to entertain people, but we also want to talk about what people want to talk about. However, it's kind of hard to avoid obvious certain things that are just aware, because you become aware of the news, and they're just going to become a thing that we talk about. Like, for example, we're not going to sit around and talk about illegal immigration during this show, correct? It's not exactly.
I mean, it's not my intention.
Correct. But we can talk about the effects of illegal immigration and the impact it has in our community. And that is not a off limits subject. But if we get off topic about it, we don't want people to think we're not taking it seriously. Right. But since I did want to close and make it sound like we do talk and read the news more often than, we should probably. Did you see this whole thing about the Venezuelan gangs taking over the apartment buildings in Aurora?
That's insane.
So the reason why I bring it up is because we lived in Santa Barbara together for a very short period of time when I was stationed out there. And gang takeovers were not an abnormal thing.
Right.
It's not what people think it looks like. It's kind of like old school mafia. Yeah, it's like old school mafia, basically. First, they go after your kids. And what I mean by that is the kids who are 14 years old. And when you're talking about a community where there's a lot of first generation people who are raising kids, and many of them probably illegal, but still, where they don't speak English and the kids are half in, half out, right? And then they get scooped up, but they take over basically government housing areas where there's, I don't know. I don't want to use the word vulnerable population because that implies that a lot of illegals, because they won't call the police. When I say vulnerable, I want to say it this way. If you're a drug addict and you spot crime, you're less likely to call the police.
Right.
Because you're a drug addict. The police are going to show up and see that you're a drug addict. And you don't want to go to jail, right? So same thing if you're an illegal or whatever. But it was crazy to me that it happened, and then you saw that the mayor all these people came out and they're like, no, that's not happening. Right?
I haven't seen that.
Okay,
no.
so they get the video, they show the video. Then the governor comes out and they're like, nope, that's not a thing, you're lying. Right? So skip what your eyes are seeing, right? Oh, it's out of context, all this stuff. But then it turns out you've got the local PD and all this. They've been in communication with the building owner, telling him not to go there because it's too dangerous. And apparently the FBI is involved and has been dealing with the. So I was thinking, because we live in an area where we have seen especially south of us, just north of Houston, they have that huge community that they built. You saw the Daily Wire did a whole special on that. And it was crazy to me. And I think we'll talk more about this as we kind of go through our show, but I'd like to bring in more of sort of that because we can. Now we can do more. But when people talk about this, like, oh, are you seeing this in your community? And you're going, yeah, I just don't think people know what to look for, the signs.
Right.
It's that old broken windows thing, but it's like, no, it's little things. It's like when, I say this in a different way. It's almost like when you see who the food delivery driver is changed to, is a good sign of the economy kind of thing, right? There's an old joke we used to have in food service, which the prettier your waitress was, or the more handsome your waiter was the economy was doing worse. It's prettier.
Keep hitting this with my face.
Because prettier people, I do that all the time. It's okay, but prettier people could get better jobs. Was the implication? Like they were saying, like if you're at a Denny's and you have a really attractive server, there's probably something wrong with the economy. Anyway,
Right.
okay. I love that it's okay. Keep bumping the microphone, but the same thing when you see symptoms and signs of it. And it was one of those things I thought it is crazy. And as we go forward, I am going to get your perspective on some of this stuff that they imply that that what you're seeing is just not the truth. Right? Similar to like Harris didn't say she wanted to ban fracking. She did. Harris wasn't the border czar. What? They literally told us she was. Remember that whole, the borders are, you haven't been down to the border. Well, I haven't been to Europe either.
Yeah.
Right. So I just think, it'll be good to finally be able to talk about some of these things and not feel, because I think people are being told they're insane. But we're not.
I think we've been told that for a long time.
Yeah. Maybe we just open our eyes. There's that. Anyway, thanks for joining us today.